Did you know the way that you set up your business will determine your ability to get funding? So if you want to get maximum business credit, you want to get high limit credit card approvals, you want to get credit lines, you want to access loans as well, then fundability set up the right way. This is what most people get denied for. It's not because your income isn't high enough. It's not because your credit scores are high enough. It's because you're not meeting certain requirements that lenders or credit issuers have to get approved. We call this fundability. And today's training, I'm going to teach you more about fundability, especially how to set up your business information the right way, setting up your name the right way, the numbers that you actually need that lenders are going to look for, how they actually look at the reputation of your business. If you get this right, you dramatically improve your chances of getting approved for more money at better terms for your business. We got a lot to cover, so let's dive in. So when we talk about fundability, we're all ultimately talking about your ability to get money from the actual banking system. I should say banking, because the reality is whether it's private investors, whether it's alternative lenders, whether it's big conventional traditional banks, they all have requirements you must meet to get approved. This is what fundability is. You know what I'm talking about. You've applied for a credit card before. You received one of two outcomes. You either got that immediate approval where they tell you your credit limit, or you got that dreaded message that you'll hear by mail in 7 to 10 days. And what happens is if you don't meet these fundability requirements, then you have enough of these X's that gets you basically pushed to a manual review. Excuse me, I don't have to clear my throat today. And when that happens, usually that manual review results in a denial in almost all cases. So my goal for you is to fix that. My goal for you is to be able to actually come in and to be able to fix this so you can start getting approvals and stop getting denials. And also fundability controls your ability to get money and to be able to get more money at the best terms. So this is exactly what we're going to be talking about today, is what you need to do to improve the essentials, kind of the basic aspects of your business, so you actually can come in and be able to get financing for your company. So let's talk about business information. This is the basic identifying information about your business. It includes your name and your address, includes your phone number, it includes website, email address, it includes identification numbers like your EIN as well. Sorry about that. I had to turn that one thing on. And it includes other things as well that really have to do with the basic structure or presence of your business. So let's take a look at all these. Now, you can avoid a lot of denials by just building your fundability, because that's what makes you look legitimate. Professional website, email address, toll-free phone number, having it listed in the right directories. Okay, having your business address set up the way they want it to be set up. There's a lot of ways to do business addresses. Most of them are not what lenders or credit issuers want to see. Getting necessary licenses. These are all the kind of things that will make your business more fundable than not. So let me give you a simple example here. If you have a business license, a business credit building source like Granger will automatically give you a $2,500 credit line just because you have a license. Now, you don't even have to have a license. Like, I don't have to have a license to operate in my county, but I can get one. So by voluntarily going to choose to get a license for my business, I can immediately get approved at a lot of different sources and get high limit credit limits or credit lines or credit cards with those sources. That's just one example of how important even one of these different aspects is. And Quayne says, need funded, we can help with that. Our number will be on the bottom of each of these slides. Give us a call. We have a free funding consultation where we can tell you all the funding you can qualify for now. And if you go to this link, creditsuite.com/live/27, Quayne, then you can actually get, or Kwame, you can also get our guide of 27 killer ways to get money for your business. So give us a call. We'll do a free consult to tell you all the money you can get now, and grab this guide on the bottom of my slide right here, because this will give you 27 killer ways to get money for your business. Skip, happy to be back. I've actually been gone a couple days in that mastermind, so it's glad to have a chance to get back to everybody today. All right, so business setup. A business has to be set up to appear that it's fundable. It has to be set up separately from you. And we have this as a big problem, because a lot of times we're using a mobile phone as our business phone. We're using a home address as our business address. We're using, we're not even getting EIN. We might choose a sole proprietorship. So the very first thing we have to focus on is we got to make sure that we separate the business completely for us. Now, this isn't my advice. This actually has to do with SCORE, Inc., SBA, Forbes. They all say the same thing. This is why you've got to build a business credit profile. The separation of your business from you is very important for your business to look legitimate and credible. So the first step is to ensure your business has its own phone number and email and address. As a matter of fact, what I say is that you should get a phone number and an address set up before you even set up the entity in the actual Secretary of State records. And here's why. Because most people set up the entity first, then they change the address and phone number, then they forget to update the Secretary of State, then the Secretary of State information isn't congruent with everywhere else that you're listing your new phone number and address, and that's one of the most common reasons that stuff gets denied. So you've got to make sure that you have your own phone number for the business, your own address Okay, and it doesn't mean you have to get it doesn't mean you have to get a separate phone line or even a separate location, but you need to have those separate for your business. And I'll explain exactly what that means here in a minute. So you can still run your business from home. You can still use a mobile phone to do business, but on paper, those aren't the things you want to put. You want to put something else, even if you are working from home, even if you are using an actual mobile phone to do business, it's just not what you want to show lenders, credit issuers, and the rest of the world. It just doesn't make you look credible. So let's talk about business phone numbers. Well, you can get a business phone number that's an actual hardwired business phone in an office, or you can get an internet phone. You can get what's called a VoIP or a voice over IP number. A lot of places sell these. Ring Central, Freedom Voice, hundreds and hundreds of sources offer these. Okay, now this kind of phone line, whether it is a VoIP or whether it is an actual hardwired business phone number, doesn't really matter. All that matters is you have a separate phone number for the actual business. And here's why this matters. All lenders and credit issuers' computer automatically tells them what type of phone number you're entering. It'll say residential phone. It'll say mobile phone. It'll say business phone, or it'll say voice over IP, don't know. So if you're using a home phone or a mobile phone on an application for financing, they know immediately. Their computers know this and red flag this. And again, you get enough of those red flags, you get denied. Some sources, you don't even need a volume of red flags. You just get denied. So let me give you an example. Staples and Office Depot are both the same. If your phone number is not congruent with what they find online, or you're not using a business phone as your business phone number, you get denied. So there's some sources that will just flat out deny you because you're not following this protocol. You're not setting your phone number up the right way. You're not actually setting up a phone number for your business. Now, in case I don't mention it later, you also need to get a toll-free number. You should make the number to make it to be toll-free. Toll-free gives you a lot of legitimacy and credibility. Nowadays, with the internet, almost all of us are doing business nationwide. Okay, unless you're like a local place like a pizza shop, you're doing business nationwide. The second thing is you want to get this phone number listed with 411. Very important as well. I might talk about that here on another slide, but I want to make sure I throw that in because that's all very important to make sure you have your business phone number set up the right way. Toll-free number, actual phone number for your business, even if it's a business voice over IP number. And then you also want to make sure that you get that phone number listed with 411. A lot of sources initially in business credit building won't even approve you for initial accounts unless you have your phone number listed with 411. It's just one of the basic requirements that lenders and credit issuers have. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you can't just go to 411 and list yourself. Okay, 411.com isn't even 411. 411 kind of looks at places like Google Business and Yahoo and all these online yellow pages to be able to recognize your business, and then they create a record for you. You can't go to 411 and give them your information. It doesn't work that way. So lenders and credit issuers know that, and they know that organically 411 will pick up your business when it's been around long enough. Okay, that means they're trying to deter brand new startup businesses from applying for some different forms of capital. But if you go to a place like listyourself.net and you list your phone number 411, or if you're not listed already, well, then it gives you a ton of credibility and helps you actually get approved. Okay, and Ayana, hopefully I said that right, says what kind of license? It doesn't matter. Any kind of license you can get. So let me give you an example. I don't need a license in my industry. I have people in credit repair that do need licenses in certain states. I don't need an occupational license in my county, but I can get an occupational license in my county. So what type of license you should get doesn't matter. You just need some kind of business license if you can get one. So again, example, in my county, I can get an occupational license even though I don't need one. So if you can get a license for your industry, for your county, for your state, then that's what you want to do. Whatever you can obtain is something you want to. It just gives yourself a lot more credibility when you do. So let's talk about virtual offices. You want to use a virtual address for your business address is something to consider. Okay, a virtual office is a business that offers a physical location for a fee. Okay, and they sometimes then offer mail service with receptionist services. There's some out there that even offer meeting spaces. So let me explain to you what virtual addresses are. We have PO boxes and we have UPS addresses. And this is what we're all familiar with. Here's the problem. Back in the 80s, what happened was the government wanted to start to recognize which was a real address and which was a PO box or a UPS address, because your address, if it's a UPS address, looks like a regular street address. So they created a database, and this database has PO boxes and UPS addresses in it. So if you go get a UPS address at the UPS store, the PO box, then what happens is the government knows based on that address what kind of address it is because it's in this database. Here's the problem. Lenders and credit issuers also have access to that exact same database. So when you enter an address on an application and you think it's a UPS address and the lender's not going to know, the lender immediately, their system throws up a red flag and says, this is a postal box. It knows exactly what kind of address it is. Now, at that same time, some of the biggest virtual offices companies out there, Regis and Alliance, pulled together and fought the government so they did not have virtual addresses included in this database. And they won. Okay, heard the story directly from the founders of these companies. Okay, so they actually fought the law and they won it. They beat them. So what happened is now when you go to get a virtual address from DaVinci or Alliance or Regis, which sell virtual addresses, then the lenders and credit issuers, they don't know that it's a virtual address. They see it what it is, a business address in a high-rise building in Tampa, Florida. So that's the difference in credibility. Imagine applying for a credit line where it looks like you use a UPS address as your mailing address versus applying for a credit line where it looks like you occupy the 19th floor of a high-rise building in Tampa, Florida. I mean, one clearly gives you more credibility. So this is why you want to consider a virtual address. Now, best bet, get a real physical address. If you could get a real physical address for your business, like a real retail location, do so. But virtual addresses are a nice way to go if you work from home, if you're virtual, if you change your addresses a lot, this is a good way to go. As a matter of fact, Credit Suite, we use a virtual address. Even with physical locations, we've still used a virtual address. Because when you get a real location, you typically change every 2 years, 3 years. Things moved around. Then you got to change your address everywhere. It's a nightmare. So with a virtual address, you're actually able to come in and you're able to have one address for your business that never changes, even if your actual location changes. So some definitely benefits of virtual addresses to say the least. Vicky, hello. Thanks for coming in from YouTube. Corey, what's up, man? Thanks for coming in. And Brian says, where do I list 1099 employees and to improve my fundability? It doesn't make a difference. But where you do want to list, you don't want to list employees anywhere to improve fundability. And by the way, great question, Brian. I'm a little bit late to get to it because it was asked about 8 minutes ago. So here's the answer to this. You want to make sure when you tell the Secretary of State the number of employees you have, that you include 1099 employees in that if you want to improve your fundability. Now, you got to talk to your accountant about tax ramifications or any of those type of things. But again, when it comes to fundability purposes, what happens on how many employees you have that you list with Secretary of State, that is a big factor in fundability. So it's something you definitely want to address there to improve fundability. Now, if you're getting value, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the love button. If you're really getting value, hit the share button. That helps us try to help as many entrepreneurs as we possibly can. So here's 3, DaVinci, Alliance, and Regis all offer virtual addresses. You can go to creditsuite.com/virtual to find a special deal with Alliance. They're the one, after working with all of them, that we like the most. But again, some vendors might not accept virtual addresses. Almost all will. So sometimes people tell me that Dun & Bradstreet doesn't accept virtual addresses. They do. But if you use an iPostal, which isn't an actual virtual address, it's actually a postal box, the same as UPS address, they will deny you. So a lot of places like iPostal, you may think are a virtual address, but they're not. And those will oftentimes get you denied because, again, they're in this database that lenders and credit issuers are able to access. So let's talk about your business website. So you need to have a professional business website for your company as well. Okay, you do not want to go in and get it actually put at a place like Wex. If you don't have your name, your company name.com, you need to get it. Okay, so a lot of people will use a Wex type website where the address is wex.com/credit suite. You don't want that. You need to have your own URL. Think about it. There's no large publicly or privately owned company that doesn't own their name.com and that's using a Wex website. You want to be able to host your own website. Now, I recommend GoDaddy for hosting and domains. That's just my choice. I've used them for years. I love them. I was talking to a coaching client earlier today, and he's having all kinds of problems because he's not using a source like GoDaddy. So always use a source like GoDaddy to be able to help you with things like that. And not GoDaddy, you can choose somebody else if you want. But that's who I've always used, always had great success. You want to have the website professionally done. Now, don't get me wrong. You can spend $5,000 to $25,000 or more to get a website professionally done, right? So, but you can also go to a place like templatemonster.com, buy a template for your website that looks really professional for less than $100, $50 to $100. Then you can go to a place like Fiverr.com or Upwork.com, hire somebody for $100, give them the actual template for the website, give them the content you want on every page, and they'll put the website up. So there's a hack for less than $200. You can get a professional website set up for your company. It doesn't have to be expensive to do. Okay, our partners get a website to promote business credit financing with Credit Suite. So that's, again, we give the website away to our actual clients that are actually offering business credit financing. So you don't have to spend a ton of money on websites. I just gave you a hack, but again, it needs to be professional. It needs to reflect what products and services your company really does. Somebody should be able to go to your website and clearly understand what it is that your business actually does. This is what lenders and credit issuers really want to see. Okay, and Brian says SOS annual filings. Yeah, you can go update your information, but that's typically what happens, Brian. So when you file an annual report, which is what we have in Florida, then they ask me to update my information, and I can go in and update my number of employees there. But I don't have to wait in Florida for my annual reports. I can go in and have like amendment done to my information anytime I want to for a small fee. So every state's different. But Brian is asking the question about, hey, I now know that the number of employees I have affects my fundability with the Secretary of State. How do I update that number? Well, you can do it with your annual reports when you file, or you can go to your Secretary of State and just see how to change your information. In Florida, we call that an amendment, and I can actually do an amendment and update it. Let me explain to you why this is so important. Each credit bureau has about 5 credit scores: Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian. Well, Equifax, Experian, and Dun & Bradstreet, all of them, several of their scores, like 3 out of the 5, take into account your financial stability into the score. Now, they'll typically look at your tax returns if you've supplied your tax returns to them. But have you? Have you given your tax returns to Experian, Equifax, or Dun & Bradstreet? I would imagine no. So if you haven't given them your tax returns, this is mind-blowing crazy, but they look at the number of employees you have to determine your financial health. So if you're less than 5 employees and they have no tax returns, they see you as a financially a high risk. I can't explain it. I'm not saying it's valid. I'm just telling you the way that it's looked at. But if you come in and they see 10 employees, 15, 20, the more employees you have, the more financially stable they see your business as. So this is one of many reasons that the number of employees that you file with Secretary of State affects your fundability. It literally affects like 9 of your 15 credit scores with the business credit reporting agencies. Now, if you don't want that to happen, then you have tax returns that are pretty good, and they show revenue and they show that you're growing, then send those to the credit bureaus. It can help you avoid them looking at employee count versus financials, but it is why this matters so much for fundability. And Nicole says, if you're sharing a presentation, we don't see it. Do you not see the presentation? Oh my goodness, I am very sorry here. So let me go back to share screen. Oh, look at that. I got it all right. Thank you very much. There we go. Now we're sharing the presentation. So, and Nicole, thank you. You rock. I really appreciate that. Hopefully this all makes sense. And Nicole, thanks for chiming in and letting me know. Eugene says 30 days in and the credit suite helped me get over 10K in unsecured business credit, my business name with no personal guarantee. That's awesome, Eugene. Congratulations. I'm really excited you're having those results. And again, I'll put our number on the bottom of these slides. If this helps you, just give us a call and we will give you a free consultation as well to talk to you more about business credit building. If you're watching this, other than Eugene, obviously, Eugene's working with us and having a ton of success. And Kwame says, real facts. Corey says, I followed your advice. I went to Fiverr and found a computer guy to build my website and funnel for $180. Congratulations, man. I saved you like a bunch of money. You owe me a beer now whenever you're in Tampa. Latoya says, how much does it cost for the website? An email, I think is what you're asking. It depends. Your Secretary of State update, very little to no money, depending on your state. Website, I just told you a way to get for less than $200 to set up your website using a place like Fiverr, Upwork, and using a place like Template Monster for the actual template. Okay, so that being said, you also need to make sure that you don't, as I mentioned, have it listed at places like Wex. You want to actually pay for your hosting. It's pretty cheap in a lot of places, including places like GoDaddy. Okay, and the next thing you want to do is you want to get, oh, and one more thing, because I don't see any email addresses here. You want to make sure that your business email address as well, okay, is a professional email address and that it's really the same as your domain. So let me give you an example here. Okay, my email is info@creditsuite.com. My domain is creditsuite.com. My domain, my email. Okay, that's the difference between. Now, I don't want to get, creditsuite@yahoo.com or creditsuite@gmail or creditsuite@AOL.com. I wouldn't want that because it doesn't make me look professional. Look, I don't know about you, but in my world, I have not done business with people because they use Gmail addresses. And it's cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars in business from my company. Because, that doesn't give me confidence. If you're using a Gmail address as your business address, I have lost confidence in you as a customer. This is the way lenders and credit issuers look at this as well. So you really need to make sure that you actually set up your company at, or your name at yourcompany.com, whatever. It needs to be a professional email address. You got to stay away from GOL, AOL type email addresses. Now you need to make sure you get your EIN set up. Okay. It's 100% free. If you go to irs.gov, a lot of places out there make it look like they're actually government websites and get you an EIN. Then you get to the final step and they charge a fee. And you're like, oh my gosh, I entered all this information. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm still going to go ahead and pay. But you don't want to do that. So what you want to do without a doubt is you want to make sure that you go in and that you go to irs.gov to actually set this up where it's 100% free. You want to set up the right entity type. Preferably, you want to set up a corporation. You can set up an LLC. An LLC isn't really an entity type per the IRS. It can actually be a designator for any entity type. So, for example, I have an LLC in Montana that I do a lot of business with. And when I set that LLC up, they say, hey, what entity type do you actually have under this? And I chose an actual C corporation. So you want to choose a corporation. Doesn't matter if you're S Corp, doesn't matter if you're C Corp, but corporations just give you more credibility with lenders and credit issuers. It's just the way that it is. Okay. And Ed says, I enjoy how Ty speaks so fast and delivers all high quality content fast and easy to understand. I appreciate that, Ed. A lot of people, some people criticize me for my speed, and my apology. It's just my brain works as fast as my mouth goes as fast as my brain works. And consciously trying to slow myself down has always proven to be a problem. So I appreciate you saying that. So you want to make sure that you go to irs.gov. You want to make sure that you actually choose and have an EIN. You look really legitimate with an EIN. Without, you don't look legitimate to anybody, not even the IRS. Matter of fact, when it comes to EIN numbers, SBA will specifically even say that if you're using a sole proprietorship, if you're not using the EIN, those are for experimental companies. That's how they define it. SBA doesn't even consider your business real legitimate if you don't have an EIN number and you don't have a corporation set up or an entity type other than a sole proprietorship. So you really want to make sure that you set up a corporation preferably, okay, and that you also come in and that you have your EIN number set up. You also want to make sure that you've chosen the right NAICS code for your website. I talk about this a lot, and there's a reason I talk about it, because it goes so deep, more deep than you may ever realize it goes. So here's a website called NAICS.com. I really recommend you go here, and here's why. I just got back from speaking to a very high-level group of entrepreneurs, okay? There was 60 probably in the room when I spoke. All of them run $2 million to $100 million businesses. I asked all of them, who can tell me your exact industry designation and your industry NAICS code? No one in that room could raise their hand. Here's why it's so important. Oh, there's so many reasons. Okay, first of all, lenders and credit issuers ultimately do not like high-risk industries. They will either deny you or they will make your underwriting guidelines more stringent because you're in a high-risk industry. But if you've given the wrong industry, if they're looking at the wrong industry, it obviously creates a problem. The credit bureaus, Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian, have what are called comparison scores. They compare you against other people in your industry. If they had the wrong industry, it's obviously a real problem. These industry designators were created originally because the IRS wanted to determine what industry you're in so they can look at the expenses you claim and they can compare them to others in your industry to see if something doesn't match up. And if something doesn't match up, you know what they do? They audit you. I'm not an accountant. This isn't accounting advice, but this is how the system works. So all of a sudden, by choosing the wrong industry, you've got all kinds of issues. You got issues with the IRS. The credit bureaus are putting you in high-risk industries. Lenders and credit issuers are turning you down. And I can go on and on and on about the problem with the industry. But here's the issue. The issue is you might say, hey, I'm in real estate. But I always use this example because if you look at real estate itself has 32 subcategories. So this is the problem, is that when you go fill out an application and you say you're in real estate, now you're forcing them to choose which of these 32 categories you're in. And I guarantee you, there's a big difference in risk between somebody that's a leaser of residential buildings and somebody that is a general rental center. Big difference between those two. I mean, these are night and day. I can't even believe some of these are categorized under real estate. Look at this. Commercial, air, rail, and water transportation, equipment rental, and leasing. That is under the real estate category. So you have to know what you should be putting on an application for credit is that you are residential property management, NAICS 531311. It should be that specific. What happens is that way the credit bureaus, lenders, credit issuers, there's no question of what industry you're in. You're always in the right industry. Everyone always sees you as being in the proper industry. But here's the thing. If you don't tell them this, they guess. And think about it. If you're a lender and you have 32 categories to choose from, two are low risk and 30 are high risk, which are you going to choose? They automatically default and put you in the higher risk category just to protect themselves. So what happens is that they don't know specifically what industry you're in. They're guessing. And they're guessing in a way where it makes you high risk. Now, all of a sudden, you're not getting as much money. Now, all of a sudden, you're paying a higher interest rate. And it's all because of this one mistake. So go to NAICS.com. Once you do this, get your credit reports. You can go to creditsuite.com/monitoring. If you have credit reports with any of the reporting agencies, look at the NAICS code they have for you. If it's not correct, send them an update and say, this is my correct NAICS code. We go back to your taxes you filed, and when you file taxes, file under the correct NAICS code. And if you've done this, then filing taxes, credit bureaus have the info, all applications for credit financing in the future have it, then you'll be on the right track. And if they ever say that you're not in an industry you're in, and you're in a high-risk industry when you're not, well, then it easily gives you the information you need to be able to track it. Okay. And Ed says, I'm a member of CS and love it. Therefore, I'm an ambassador for Credit Suite as well. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Ed. And Marie says, go ahead. Okay, creditsuite.com/monitoring. And that's, I think I've got Keith in there typing some stuff in. So it's creditsuite.com/monitoring. Okay, so you also get to get your business listed, name. You don't want your name to indicate you're in a high-risk industry. If you go to youtube.com/Credit Suite, you'll see a whole list. We've got a whole presentation just on this where we go through and we talk about all these high-risk industries. There's too many to go over here. There's like 100 and something. So there's too many for me just to go over. But if you go to youtube.com/Credit Suite, tee it up to watch sometime in the future, it'll actually go through and show you a lot of the industries that are high risk. Okay, so you need to have a DUNS number. You should get one from Dun & Bradstreet. You can go to creditsuite.com/DUNS, D-U-N-S. You don't even have to put the dashes in between. You can go to dnb.com and find DUNS number as well. I just made it easy for you. creditsuite.com/DUNS takes you to where you can get your free DUNS number. You need to get one set up. Makes you look credible, okay? And it puts you in Dun & Bradstreet's database. If you want to have a credit report with Dun & Bradstreet, you have to have taken this step. If you don't have a DUNS number and 3 accounts reporting to D&B, they'll never create a credit profile for you. And that's the ultimate fundability as credit reports. So you need to make sure that you actually get a DUNS number. Now, D&B will try to call you and sell you their credit builder program. You don't need to buy it. It's $1,500 a year. It's $150 a month. They'll tell you they need it. They'll tell you this will be faster if you give it to them. They'll tell you all kinds of crazy crap. It's not me, my opinion. Like, just look online. Dun & Bradstreet Credibility is actually literally has a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit. Every year they're in business for the same practice. They have a lawsuit. Okay. So again, a lot of people are pretty upset because they're strong-armed and convinced they need something they don't need. I'm just saying, you don't need it. You don't need to get it at all. It's not even worthwhile for you to have, because even if you pay them to put accounts on your D&B credit report, you still have to focus on Experian and Equifax anyway. So you still have to follow the exact same steps to build Equifax and Experian credit reports as you could with D&B. So you don't need the credit builder program. It's 100% free, but you need to get your DUNS number. Let me give you an example. Went to apply for a business with a Staples credit card, okay, and got denied for the Staples credit card. And called Staples, and I said, hey, like, why would this application be denied? I have established business credit. There's no reason this should be denied. They said, we don't see that you have any established business credit with Dun & Bradstreet. I said, yeah, let me give you my DUNS number. Now, notice, Staples never asked for the DUNS number on the application. Last time I ever didn't enter a DUNS on an application. Moving forward, I'd always give them the DUNS, even if they don't ask for it. Staples plugged it in, got the DUNS number, and immediately gave me an approval. So here's a situation where I got denied. I called them and said, why? They said, because of X, you don't have a business credit profile. I said, yes, I do. Here's my DUNS. They pulled that up and they approved the application. So again, this is why you need to have a DUNS number, because it gives you a lot of credibility. And in this example, it was a simple way of saying there's no reason you shouldn't be able to find me. Here's my DUNS. They use the DUNS to find and approve the application. So many reasons that you should have this DUNS number that I just mentioned a few of them that of why it's so important. Okay, Experian will have a BIN number. They will populate that for you. The minute you get a credit report with Experian, you got to get a credit report with Experian. Equifax and Experian will give you failing credit scores if you don't. So you need to get some accounts that report to Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, and Experian. That's the key to getting the BIN number with Experian, the Equifax ID number with Equifax, and establishing the actual credit reports. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot about this because I did talk to you about NAICS code. But again, you know, there are industries that are deemed to be high risk. Dangerous industries, risk of injury, greater workman's comp claim, industries like construction, transportation, manufacturing. Some people ask me why things are deemed to be high risk. This is what I found. Some of them are just dangerous industries. There's more liability in those industries as well. Okay, some are cash intensive. Okay, so it requires a lot of cash. So there's chances of being burglarized because you work with a bunch of cash. Pawn shops, gas stations, check cashing services, bail bonds. They have a higher risk of theft, of of being robbed because they're cash intensive. Insurance is typically higher in these kind of industries. That's why some of those are seen to be high risk. Neither of these could be the case. They're just, for example, for plenty of industries, neither condition applies. These industries include like online sales, where you're not in one of these industries. And again, even outside of this, a lot of lenders and credit issuers might deem to be that you're high risk just because they have seen a lot of those industries default in their own system. So I've worked with banks before that are like, insurance companies are high risk. It's like, why? Because a lot of insurance companies default with us, so we no longer will work with them. So sometimes it's even lender specific, depending on people that have defaulted with them before. Okay. But if it looks like you're part of one of these industries, in a lot of cases, you could be denied. So this is what happens with fundability. There's really three outcomes. You're good, green light, go, go, go. There's yellow, which means you're going to face greater underwriter scrutiny. And that's lenders' terms. That's not me. Greater underwriter scrutiny. That means they're going to scrutinize your application more than they typically would. It's going to be harder to get approved. You're going to pay worse terms. Okay. Then there's the third, which is just denied. Flat out denied. Won't work with your industry. You're done because you're even in this industry. Okay. So those are the three. We want to stay on the green light. Go ahead. But if your business name even indicates that you're in a certain industry, that could really be a problem. Now, we've talked about NAICS codes, SIC codes, or standard industrial classification code system. That's the old system. Had 16 categories with online and all the stuff that's happened since SIC's creation. NAICS is the new code designator that's used for your industry. And I told you to go to NAICS.com. We talked about the importance of that and what happens with those. Now, again, there's really two different types of these. SIC, you should know your SIC code as well. But NAICS is the main code that you need to know, because nowadays that's what's being used, because that's the newest version of the actual code. Okay, and Edward says, I have a question. If I'm using your credit monitoring, do I need to pay? No, you don't. We actually work with NAV. Our credit monitoring is through NAV's platform, which is cheaper. So if you're working with our credit monitoring, you do not need NAV. And if you already have NAV, then don't even switch. You don't need to switch to us. If you're having a good experience, then stay with them. That makes sense for that you could do that as well. Okay, and Corey says, Chase told me they don't even allow you to own a business concerning stocks, bond, Bitcoin, etc. So what he's saying is very important. Corey says, my bank told me they won't even let you have those businesses and bank there. I had the same experience. So I actually was with Wachovia before they got bought out with Wells Fargo. I had a credit repair company, a consumer credit business many, many years ago, and they shut me down just because of my industry. So what Corey says is fact, truth, to 100%. There's banks that won't even do business with you because of your industry. But here's the crazy thing. I just set up a new bank account with my banker, and she asked what industry I'm in. And I, like a lot of us, I'm kicked back in my chair and I'm like, oh, consulting. I didn't say that. I know enough about this, but I thought about that. In the past, I'd just be like, consulting. What do you consult? Financial service. I just throw something out. You don't want to do that. All these banks openly communicate with each other behind the scene through a system called the financial exchange. So with the financial exchange, you need to make sure that you have the information correct to them, because again, as Corey's saying, they won't even do business with you if you're in certain industries. Okay, so again, you have to be honest. You don't want to lie about this. But the reason I bring it up is that you look at Credit Suite as an example. Are we a software company? Are we an education company? Are we a financial services company? A case could be made with any of those three. But here's what's interesting. Based on what we choose is going to determine the multiple we're given if we go to exit or sell. It's also going to determine if we're high or low risk when it comes to getting money. So there's plenty of industries that you might be in one of two or three. That's when you want to choose the lower risk option and not the higher risk option. And Corey says, I'm in finance also, credit repair business with Credit Suite and authorized user, taxes, and booking. And I'm trying to think of a creative way the NAICS code to provide for them. You might just want to go with a general consulting if you want to. But again, Corey, using us as an example, we're software for financial services, or we can come in and we can be software, it could be financial services as well. We could be education. In our case, education's better for risk. Financial services is high risk. So we choose to go with software. We're a software company. And software gives us the best multiple for exit, but it also puts us in a low risk category if that helps you in any way. Okay. And again, I'm not going to go through any ICS, but I've already told you that the IRS uses this to determine if the expenses that you're actually claiming are legitimate. So fraud. Let's talk about fraud, because what most people don't understand is when you apply for a loan or a credit card, okay, personal or business, what they primarily care about above all else is if the application is even fraudulent or not. Like 9 out of 10 apps that these guys are getting in the door aren't even real. They're fake apps. So lenders and credit insurers have like all this criteria to determine if the application they're getting and looking at is fraud or legit, whether it's real. So you got to be careful. You don't want to have the perception of it being fraud, and you probably do, and you don't even know about it. So what I mean about that is congruency. See, Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian have crawlers that go online to get your information. They look at your website. They look at your social media pages. They look at Yellow Pages, Yelp. They look at Google. They look at Bing. They look at all these different places. And what they're looking for is congruency, meaning is your business name, address, phone number, all the same everywhere it's listed. But we all mess this up. What we do is we go set up our Secretary of State records before we have our business address and phone number set up. Then we forget to change it. That's one thing that 90% of entrepreneurs makes that mistake. If I pull up your Secretary of State records, what you're putting on an application for credit or financing, it doesn't even match. But you need to understand the number one, very first check that lenders and credit issuers look at. They pull up Secretary of State records just to make sure that what you put on the application matches, so they know they're dealing with a legitimate business. And if it doesn't, it's one of the biggest reasons that business owners get denied. It's the most common reason business owners get denied. They don't even think you're real. So go to your Secretary of State right now and make sure that all the information there is correct. Then make sure anywhere it's listed online, search your business name. Is it listed in Yelp, Bing, Yahoo, your social media pages, your website? Does all of your information have the same thing? Is it all the same? Is it congruent? Is it accurate? Is it up to date? Now, there are services like Yext, Y-E-X-T, that will update all Yellow Page listings in one shot. So you can buy a service like Yext, and they'll update a lot of that in one shot, because the bigger your business is, you could be listed in 500 places online. So there are services that can help you, but you've got to make sure that that information is congruent. It's absolutely essential. And Corey says, cool, finance, consulting, education, basically, yeah. I would go with more of a consulting or education. I consider that, which you are, the way that you actually teach and help, and those might be easier paths for you. And GQ2Fly, I'm so excited. I just joined the Ultimate program. Awesome, man. 30 minutes ago, boom, virtual fist bump. Congratulations. Welcome to the family. And what a GQ2Fly is talking about is joining the Ultimate program, which is like our top tier level of partner, where he or she is now able to offer business credit financing as a service. And then we do all the servicing, we do all the work, and then they make a very lucrative, oftentimes even 7-figure business offering business credit financing. So congratulations. Edward, thank you as well. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so again, these inconsistencies are oftentimes which you get denied. You need to check all of your listings. You need to update your Yellow Pages. You need to update your social listings, your website, all those kind of things becomes very important. But it's not just that. You got to get your IRS records. You got to make sure the credit bureaus all have your correct information. You need to make sure your licenses, your documents with the Secretary of State. You want to make sure your bank statements, your utility statements, all of that stuff needs to be congruent. Online and offline record congruency is the number one reason I see business owners get denied. Okay, and again, inconsistent information, it just threatens fundability. It is the basic way that lenders and credit issuers are looking at to determine if an application is legitimate or fraud. So to recap, your business information, your industry, it all affects your fundability. Okay, higher risk industries find it harder to get money. So choosing the correct SIC, NAICS code is very important. You want to have a professional website. You want to have a professional email address. You need to have a phone number. List it with 411. Make it toll free. Get your EIN number. Set up the right entity type, preferably a corporation. One more thing on that, and I mentioned this before. I'm not an accountant. This isn't accounting advice. But a sole proprietor has a 1 in 7% chance of getting audited. A corporation has a 1 in 50% chance of getting audited. That's how different those two are. It's very important that you choose the right entity type. Okay, keeping records consistent and making sure there's no inconsistency as well. And we can help you with this. You actually are entitled, just watching this, to a free fundability assessment. Give us a call, 877-600-2487. On that call, what will happen is 3 things. We do a fundability check and tell you things that are wrong with fundability. We'll check places like Secretary of State and tell you it's jacked up and what to fix. Second thing, we help you get your business credit reports with Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian for free. It costs you no money. It's the only place on planet Earth that you can actually get your business credit reports for free. I don't say things like that as an exaggeration. Like, I've looked everywhere. It is the only place you get them for free by giving us a call. And the third thing is that we do a funding qualification. We tell you all the funding you can qualify for. Not care if you're startup, high risk, don't care if you've been denied before. A lot of business owners qualify for money, don't think they can. But it all happens on one call. So give us a call at 877-600-2487. Don't forget to grab our free guide on funding or on business credit building at creditsuite.com/EIN. You can also go to creditsuite.com/live-27 and grab our free guide on being able to get financing for your business as well. And if you have value here, first of all, just like the button. It's so easy to like the video. And what happens when you do that, you tell YouTube, Facebook, whoever, hey, I got value. And they say, if you did, let me show it to more people. And that's all I care about. All I want to do is help as many entrepreneurs as I can get capital, okay? Because not being able to do it in my past has adversely affected me. So I'm now on a mission to solve that for everybody else. So by hitting like, by hitting love, by hitting share, you help other people see this. And that helps me help more people. And I appreciate that. Second thing is follow us on other social channels. We go live Tuesday and Thursday at 1, 11 o'clock on Wednesday on Facebook, at Credit Suite's Facebook page, facebook.com/Credit Suite, on our YouTube channel, and on my LinkedIn profile. Okay, you can access all of those at the top right of our website, creditsuite.com. We have daily tips on Facebook, daily tips on Instagram, daily tips on Twitter as well. Then we have a podcast called the Business Credit Finance Show. A lot of people don't even know about it. 500,000 downloads of this podcast, 500,000 downloads. So it's very popular, and it's the only place you'll ever hear me talking to people, not just about financial stuff, but about actually growing a successful business. I have all these experts that come in and talk about exiting your business, getting maximum value for your business, how to market your business, how to handle the finances of your business, all these things that only happens on that podcast. You can access all that at the top right of our page, creditsuite.com. And GQ2 Fly says, thank you. I look forward to it. I'm 24 years old. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. I'm really looking forward to working with you. Asia said, I mentioned partnering as a business consultant and business loan broker. I have an existing platform with a huge database. Yeah, give us a call. Definitely, Asia, because we have, I think you'll find the most well-rounded program for you to offer business credit financing. We can help you place all the funding deals that aren't in the ones that you actually help with. I know you probably work with 2, 3, 4, 5 types of funding products. We place all the others that can help you make money on the ones you're not working with. And obviously business credit's a huge upsell. I found in every room of loan brokers I've ever been in, I've always counted, I always do a head count, and 60% of them are using us. So a large part of business loan brokers are using us for the purpose you're describing, Asia, to be able to offer more funding to their clients and offer business credit. Give us a call and we'll talk to you about a free consultation as well, like GQ2 Fly just joined up with us. And Eugene says, Fundability is everything. Credit Suite gave me efficiency, and the efficiency gave me speed. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for tuning in. Mike says, good afternoon. Thanks for coming in, Mike. And Mike says, Ty, I just bought your book off Amazon. Can't wait to start reading it. Once I sign up, it will be my book too. Yes, it will be, Mike. Thank you for working with us, and thanks for buying the book as well. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Again, give us a call for a free consultation, 877-600-2487. We'll do a fundability check, get your business credit reports for free, give you tips and tactics to build your business credit and financing. And don't forget to visit our social links at creditsuite.com, like and subscribe so you can get access to more training on more cool ways to get money to grow your business. And if you want to learn more about working with us to get the most money at the best terms, expediting your business credit building process, and being a partner and offering business credit financing, give us a call as well. We'd love to have that discussion with you. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.